Pittsburgh Steelers make a roster move ahead of Week 11 as they prepare for the Cleveland Browns. And what is to follow is the exciting part. What's going on, everybody? I'm Noah Strackbine. Thank you for jumping on to Steelers To Go, your daily to-go cup of Pittsburgh Steelers news and analysis. Find us on youtube.com/allsteelerstalkers. Subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. Make sure to check out yesterday's full-length episode of All Steelers Talk for your chance to win not one, but two signed jerseys by the end of the week. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they made things exciting this week. They cleared a roster spot, releasing defensive tackle Braden Foko after what should have been a bit more promising of an experience for him on the 53-man roster. They released Foko, who failed to log a snap in just the one game he was active on the 53-man roster. He spent the summer with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was a guy that, he had my attention all summer long. I thought he was a proven run stuffer. I thought he took a step forward in his NFL career. I thought this was the year that, the end of last year, you saw him kind of come on in LA, and I expected that role to expand with the Steelers this season. It didn't seem to happen. He failed to make the 53-man roster. He was originally signed to the practice squad once Cam Hayward was put on IR. Foko got the call up. He played just one game, didn't touch the field during that game, and the rest of the time he was inactive. Great locker room guy. Could expect him to return to the practice squad this season once he clears waivers, if nobody else is interested, and should return as an option just in case the Pittsburgh Steelers need some defensive tackle depth once again in 2023. Meanwhile, there was no corresponding move. The Pittsburgh Steelers left their roster at 52 and left everybody waiting for the move that will happen. Chances are there are two moves coming. Here's the thing. The Pittsburgh Steelers also have yet to place Quan Alexander on injured reserve, and we could all expect that to happen probably today. I would expect Mike Tomlin talks at noon. Probably before noon, that move will happen, and then the corresponding moves likely come with it or just afterwards on what the Pittsburgh Steelers plan to do. They'll be rocking with 51 men on their roster once Quan Alexander is placed on IR for a torn Achilles that he suffered in Week 10. And that is probably the move that comes with it, is the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to elevate at least one inside linebacker for this week, but they're probably not done there. The inside linebackers that they would consider, I believe there are two. Michael Walker, who I spoke to yesterday, who said that to some degree he anticipated he was going to be elevated from the practice squad last week and replace Cole Holcomb in Week 10 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. That didn't happen. Instead, they went with Tariq Carpenter, who came up, made a special teams tackle, played well. He's a former safety, turned inside linebacker, undrafted free agent out of Georgia Tech. I would expect Walker to be the top guy that the Pittsburgh Steelers consider. I just view him as a guy who has played 3 seasons in this league, 16 games in each of those seasons. He started 12 games for the Falcons last year. He has experience on special teams and on defense. He had 2 interceptions and 6 pass deflections in 2022, and that's exactly what the Pittsburgh Steelers are looking for. A pass coverage option to replace the 2 pass coverage inside linebackers that they will now lose for the remainder of the season. Landon Roberts and Mark Robinson, those guys are run stuffers, and they are hit-you-in-the-mouth football players, and the Pittsburgh Steelers love that, and I don't expect anybody who gets called up to overstep Mark Robb and become the starter for the Pittsburgh Steelers alongside Landon Roberts. But what I do expect is for a 3 inside linebacker tandem to continue for the rest of the year. The Steelers aren't going to let Mark Robb and Landon Roberts just go out there and cover whoever. They're looking for another option to kind of fill that gap and not find themselves in a situation where a tight end or a slot guy is beating their inside linebacker consistently, and just like years prior, everybody is complaining about it. The Steelers aren't looking for that. Michael Walker makes a lot of sense as that call up, and I anticipate he is the name. If he is not, Tariq Carpenter is the other one that the Steelers will consider. And if they choose to elevate 2 of them, which is a possibility, they'd have to make some more roster moves because I believe another move is coming that will fill that 53rd roster spot created by Quan Alexander being placed on IR. But Godwin Igwebuike is their fourth running back right now. And, well, no team really needs four running backs on their roster. And while Godwin has done what he needed to do for the Pittsburgh Steelers and will almost guarantee himself a spot on the practice squad if he doesn't get signed off of waivers, he could be the next cut coming, and then the Pittsburgh Steelers elevate or sign another practice squad guy in Carpenter. Carpenter is a guy that the Steelers have had pretty much all season long. They definitely like him. The fact that they chose to elevate him to the active/inactive list for Week 10 against the Packers kind of showed their confidence in him, but he is an undrafted rookie who made the position change from safety to inside linebacker. That does not mean that he can't be a valuable asset on special teams, and that's kind of where I believe the Pittsburgh Steelers view his role. Have four inside linebackers, just like they started the season with. Have that last guy be a developmental piece who could play special teams, fall in love with Danny Smith, so on and so forth. He made a tackle in his debut, and I mean, shout out to everybody and anybody who's a fan of Tariq Carpenter, because you most certainly retweeted my tweet and just exploded in excitement about this guy recording his first NFL tackle. And it was deserved because he's worked hard at practice, and you could see the effort and the time that he has put in to completely relearn a new position in the NFL and learn it quick enough that the Steelers trusted him to be a part of their team in Week 10. If they elevate both of those guys, they'll probably waive Godwin Igwebuike. They now have four inside linebackers in Landon Roberts, Mark Robinson, Michael Walker, and Tariq Carpenter, but they still have one roster spot left. Quan Alexander goes on IR. Braden Foko gets waived. Godwin Igwebuike probably going to get waived. Who's coming back? Pat Freiermuth. That would be my expectation. Pat was in the locker room yesterday. We were in there, and we just went up to him. Hey, can we talk to you? And he said, hey, guys, can we do this at the end of the week? I just want to make sure that everything is good by game day. And I said, yeah, that's a great idea. I respect it. I appreciate it. I think everybody in the media had the same understanding of, we don't want you to kind of hype things up and then have the story change throughout the week. You take your time, you do what you got to do. But from what I got from that and what I have heard prior to that, more so last week, Pat Freiermuth is very close to a return for the Pittsburgh Steelers, which is huge for a team that is trying to find as much offense and who is starting to find some offense here in the back half of the season. It's going to help Kenny Pickett. It's going to help the passing game. It's going to help open up guys like George Pickens and Deontay Johnson and clear some running lanes, because guys are going to have to focus on more passing options. And Pat Freiermuth should make Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren more dangerous, should be able to utilize Connor Hayward and Darnell Washington a little bit more in more creative ways. I think all around, Pat Freiermuth coming back is a huge move for the Pittsburgh Steelers. That is the other move that I anticipate happening for them, simply because all signs point to Pat Freiermuth coming back this week. He will have to open up his 21-day practice window. I kind of anticipate that happening tomorrow, and the Steelers will rock in one of two ways. I see it going either they place Quan Alexander on IR, and then they sign both inside linebackers, Tariq Carpenter and Michael Walker, and then at the end of the season, or the end of the week, they release Godwin Igwebuike or waive Godwin Igwebuike. On Wednesday, Pat Freiermuth's 21-day window gets opened, and then on Saturday, he gets activated to the 53-man roster and returns to the team in time to play the Cleveland Browns in Week 11, start this back half of the year, and hopefully help this team make a playoff push as he returns from a hamstring injury. But very big week for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Plenty of action to expect, plenty of news ahead of us. But by the end of the week, the Steelers will have a little bit of a different looking roster at two key positions and should get a star back in Pat Freiermuth.